Okay, so guys, I'm just jumping on here to basically talk about something that I get a lot of questions on. And this question is how what do I do? Because a lot of individuals are already in relationships with uh, the dismissive avoidant attachment style individual, with a dismissive avoidant attachment style partner. So what happens is that, sorry guys, I'm just checking my feed. What happens is that a lot of individuals are in these relationships with individuals that appear to have the dismissive avoidant attachment style traits. And it's causing a lot of problems. They're wondering, okay, so I'm in this relationship. What do I do now? What do I do now? And so today I'm going to coming to kind of give some ideas on what is it that, one second. What do we do? What do we do when we are already in a relationship with someone with the dismissive avoidant attachment style? And if you all know that someone with the, if you don't already know, some of the traits of someone with the dismissive avoidant attachment style is going to be someone who's very private. At least that's a nice word for it. But it's also, so these individuals are kind of, there's always like a barrier between you and them. You never feel that, you feel like you can come this far towards them, but no further. They have like very strict boundaries when it comes to being close to someone, and specifically emotionally close, and even physical closeness to guys. So just there's always this barrier between you and them. You always feel that you can never get quite too close to these individuals, right? And they also love their private time, their personal time. They like to spend time by themselves, alone. It's almost like when it becomes too emotionally dense in your relationship with this person, they need to go away to recharge. All right. So that is one of those are some of the traits that you'll find with someone who is a dismissive avoidant partner. With your dismissive avoidant partner, they have to go away to recharge, because they cannot tolerate emotional intensity. So you may think, you've gone out on a beautiful date and you're in the relationship with this person for a couple of years or even months or whatever it might be, or you might even be married to this person, and somehow you sorry, I'm reading something, guys. So you're in a relationship with these individuals, and somehow, when you yourself believe that you've had a really nice weekend, or the last date you spent or time you spent together was so close, and you felt really loved and wanted, and they it seemed as if they also loved your company and all of that, but yet after that you don't hear from them, or they distance themselves. It can be very troubling and unnerving when these things happen in a relationship. And so you may wonder why it is. It's because they felt, at that time, they felt overwhelmed by all the emotional intensity that was generated in that last connection with you, whether it be a date or whatever it is. And they had to go away and recharge. They just cannot tolerate emotional intensity. And so what I wanted to say to you guys is that these are the traits that you're going to find with this individual, right? And so it's going to be up to you to really decide whether this is a partner. You may be married to this person, and you may want to give it all you've got to really see if this thing will work for you, because up to this point it's not working so well for you. It might be working for the dismissive avoidant partner, because they go away whenever it is, but it really gets to you when they do that and you don't understand why it is that they need to do that, right? And especially sometimes after it is a particularly just a particularly nice date that this follows up with, right? That this is followed with. So, so basically, I'm saying to you guys that even though I'm going to give you some ways of really kind of relating and interacting with your dismissive avoidant partner, it is going to be up to you to make that decision of whether it is that you can do that, this you can actually do all these things that's going to be required, because it's not really easy, and you have to be kind of patient to work through this with this individual. And so it's going to be your decision. It's going to be ultimately up to you to decide whether this is something that these are some of the things that you can actually do for as long as you want to be with this partner, put it that way. All right, so now I think some of the things that you need to really watch out for with this partner to know that you even have a chance of having a decent relationship with this individual, or and eventually hopefully a good relationship with this individual where both of you are having your needs met, is there are some things that I want you to check first. There are some checkpoints I want you to make before you make that decision to really say, okay, I'm going to be doing this. And and this might work if this person does these things. If you see evidence of these things with this individual, then there's a great possibility that it will, working with them to really have a good relationship will work, because it takes two people to work and to really to work on a relationship. One person can't be doing all the work and then the other person is doing nothing, because you're going to end up, the person who is doing everything is going to end up feeling a lot of resentment and frustration, and that's not a good thing in a relationship, especially intimate relationships, but in any relationships really, right? So if you see your partner who you've identified as dismissive avoidant, um, actually making you a priority, it's not a usual thing for them to do. So because they prioritize their time. So when you see them actually making the effort to make you a priority in the relationship, checking on you, checking in with you and stuff like that, then that's a good sign that this person might be someone that you can work with towards having a really good relationship, right? A mutually beneficial relationship. They're able to, when you see that maybe they used to do certain things before, maybe they used to prioritize their alone time, but now they're making time out of their alone time to be with you, spend it with you, and do the things that you say that you really would like to and you enjoy doing. Then this person, they're now learning to really compromise. And this is something that is not one of those things that's really good for with someone with this attachment style. So when you see that happening, it's a good sign. The next thing is when you have a partner who's the DA, that is, you see that they have they're attempting to meet your needs. So you, in a very kind way, guys, because remember, this partner does not like to be criticized or spoken to disrespectfully, and this should be the same for every partner. You should not be criticizing your partner or speaking to them disrespectfully in any relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship, a business relationship, or a just a friendship, right? So therefore, this is going to be something that you need to do for every relationship, but specifically with a partner with a dismissive avoidant attachment style individual. They take criticism very difficult. It's very hard for them. They can't take it. It is one of the easiest ways for you to drive them away, for them to go and hibernate, basically, right? When you speak to them, when you're critical of things that they're doing, and then you speak to them in a disrespectful way, or kind of just demean them, right? That's not going to work in that kind of a relationship, and it shouldn't work in any relationship. But for this individual, it's specifically, sorry guys, there's something in my it is specifically troubling for them to manage. They can't do that, right? So the willingness to to um, to kind of prioritize you over others, right? When you see them doing that, you also have to encourage them, right? It's almost like it's almost like working with a child. It's kind of sad to say, but it's true, right? Because it's almost like you're teaching these individuals how to be emotionally connected to people and have a healthy relationship. So when they do something that you actually makes you feel good, and it should be like this with every relationship. When somebody does something good for you, you should thank them and say, I really enjoy, I'm really glad that you made the time to do that for me. I really appreciate it. Stuff like that. Be appreciative of it. But this is specifically important with someone with a dismissive avoidant attachment style. They need that validation to see that that the things that they're doing, which is not normal for them to do, that you're appreciating it, right? If you see them, you know them willing to work through differences, because as you know, if you've watched many videos with the dismissive avoidant attachment styles, they don't like that emotional intensity. So, and a lot of uh if you're going to be talking about difficult subjects, something about what you might need in a relationship, or maybe there's a difficult thing that you want to talk to them about that you don't like about what they're doing or whatever it might be, then they are not really good at sitting down and dealing with that, because they view it as criticism. So it's very important how you speak with them, and also they view it also as you're finding fault with them. So you have to be very careful also. So this is going to be, you have to just be very careful, almost like you have to be really careful about their emotional state, because anything that they perceive as being that's going to overwhelm them emotionally, and this is usually what happens when you're having difficult conversations, when you're discussing things that may not be working for you or for them or for whatever it is, and you're having difficult conversations, maybe making a really difficult decisions about things that you have to make. If they're willing to sit there with you and go through that, then you know that this is someone that you can work with, right? So these are, I'm giving you evidences and things that you can look for in your partner that will encourage you, and also give you you know the encouragement to really work with them to kind of get to a place of having being more secure in your relationship and having a better and healthier relationship, right? Another thing that you want to look for is, are they willing to include you in their space? Are they willing to include you in their personal space? And that could look like inviting you to their family, to meet their family, maybe inviting you to some work events that they can bring a person, bring a partner or somebody, a plus one, as they call it, right? Um, or to introduce you to their friends. If you see that they're doing that and they're trying to include you into their social circle, then you know that this person is somebody you could work with towards having a healthy relationship in other ways that may not be working out so well. All right. And the reason I say that, this is evidence that this individual really loves and cares about you. So they're going outside of their norm, because their norm is in relationships, that their norm is that every aspect of their life is really siloed. What that means is that over here in this silo, you have my family. Over here in this silo, I have my work stuff. Over here in this silo, I have my friends. Over here in this silo, I have my stuff, all of my stuff. Right? Over here in this silo, I have my relationship with you. Right? So they don't connect everything, because it's like everything is siloed. And so when you see the willingness for them to include you in these siloed areas of their lives, then you know that this person really cares about you and is willing to work with you. All right. The next thing is, guys, that they're very, very stringent with their time, because they want to spend a lot of time alone. They love their time alone. You have to give them time to recharge, because for them, the emotional intensity that a relationship brings can be very overwhelming. So they need a lot of time to go by themselves and recharge. So when you see that they're very protective of their personal time, by themselves. And so when you see that they are extending, coming out of, minimizing their time, the time they spend by themselves, and now giving it that time to you, right? They're able to now, instead of spending only a couple hours with you, they can spend a weekend with you, and they're quite fine, or they're trying to really adapt. Then you know that this person is willing, and there's a possibility that you can work through issues with this person, right? I want to finish these. So those are some of the signs, guys. But I want to really have a caveat here, because I have worked with a lot of individuals who have partners who are dismissive avoidant. I have had partners who are dismissive, a few who are dismissive avoidant partners. And so what I've noticed personally, and what I've heard from my clients, is that sometimes, especially when the partner might perceive that you're kind of tired of the whole working so hard in this relationship, and you are the only person doing it, then they will step up their game. But stepping to include all these things I just mentioned. However, it doesn't last. So, they'll step up their game and include you, and spend more time with you, and embrace you into their little siloed areas, that kind of thing. But then they cannot do it for a really long period of time, right? And so because of that, you might think that they're actually doing this, and this is how it is going to be forever. But some things that most of the times I've noticed and heard from my clients, and from my experience, that most times it doesn't last. So that's the caveat I want to tell you, right? Just so that you know that, it might be possible that you work with this individual and it might not turn out the way you want in the long run. Okay. So you're in a relationship with this guy, this person, this individual. What are some of the things that really will help you to have a more peaceful, more less friction in the relationship? Is to learn to give them their space. When they take their space, don't go chasing after them, because that makes it even worse. They feel overwhelmed, and they haven't had the chance to regroup and come back. So you have to learn to give these individuals their space when they want it. If you can do that, that's great. You can, this relationship might work. The other thing is that we have a tendency, especially the individual with the anxious, preoccupied, and sometimes because the fearful, avoidant individual has both sides, they depending on who they're with, could have problems. These two attachment styles especially the anxious, has the belief that they're with this partner for this amount of time, this long period of time. They should know what they're thinking, what their needs are. But it doesn't work like that with the dismissive avoidant attachment individual, because, guys, remember, it's very hard for them to read emotional context, because they just never had that growing up. So if you're expecting them to look at you and figure that something is bothering you, they're not going to notice all that. right? They might notice it, but they're going to read it into a negative way, in terms of saying, you're upset with them for some reason. So what you have to do with this individual is that you have to tell them exactly what is happening. And of course, you also have to tell them exactly how they can solve that problem, because they don't know. They just don't have that emotional intelligence, intelligence, right? To know that, okay, I would love for you to greet me when I come home, or when you come home, instead of just like, if you're watching TV, it's like, I don't know, but nothing has changed. You didn't even come through the door from work all day, right? And how do you do it? Just, I would love for you to get up and just hug, give me a kiss, or whatever it might be, or at least say, hey, sweetie, or whatever it is, something, some kind of acknowledgement. So you have to spell out these things specifically to this individual who's your partner, who's your partner, and you want to make this relationship work, because these are the things. This is how they think. This is how they process things. You have to tell them exactly what you want, and you cannot think that they're going to read your minds. They cannot read your minds, and you really should be doing this with most people. But a lot of other individuals, the fearful avoidant and the anxious preoccupied individual, they can usually kind of sense when somebody is going through a rough time, or something is happening that's not right, and they'll ask questions. They're willing to dig into that and mess and find out what it is. But the individual who's with a dismissive avoidant attachment style will not understand you if you don't tell them exactly what you want. You have to tell them exactly what they want. So that is very important in these relationships. The next thing is, that I mentioned earlier, they don't like criticism. That's what they grew up with, a lot of critical parents or caregivers, and this is something that they avoid at all cost. So the minute you start to criticize, they're going to disappear and go into their little corner somewhere to recoup, right? Or just to get away from it, right? So you don't criticize. You have to be able to speak to, and you should not anyway in any relationship. Should be for all relationships. You cannot criticize your partner. Recognize that there's a problem and have a conversation about it in a respectful way, right? But even with having a conversation in a respectful way with a dismissive avoidant individual is going to be difficult, because they cannot, if it's going to be a difficult conversation, they're not really good with a lot of being into that emotional soup. It's too intense for them, right? The next thing is, you have to pay attention to their emotional cues of when they're getting overwhelmed emotionally, and take a break, back off, right? Because you will see it. You can probably read it, because you might be an anxious preoccupied, or at least you will be a dismissive avoidant attachment style individual. So you can probably see when they're getting, instead of going and going and going and going and going and just continuing and just overwhelming them, you need to be able to pay attention to those cues, so you know when to slow down or even stop, right? So the next thing is that one of the trauma that the dismissive avoidant attachment style suffered as a child is that they never felt safe in their relationship with their caregivers. So, as of course, when they get into their romantic relationships, they also they crave that feeling of safety, and they also crave peace. They want to be in a peaceful environment. They cannot take a lot of noise and quarreling, and so those are the times when they will just disappear. So if they don't feel safe, and they somehow feel, like at any minute you're going to go and leave them, at any minute you're going to do, that kind of thing, if they don't feel safe in a relationship. So you have to make sure that you're not giving off signals that means that you're going to leave them, or other things like that, right? So guys, these are some of the things that will help you in a relationship with someone who is a dismissive avoidant partner. And as I mentioned earlier, when I kind of gave you some of the things that you look for to see if this is even worth trying and going towards working with this individual, you have to look at all of these things and decide for yourself. It has to be an individual decision, because you're the one living in it. Decide whether or not you can actually do these things, or this is something that you can manage and be still healthy and feel feel good in your relationship, because what's the sense of being in a relationship when you're going to be miserable, right? So that's it, guys. I hope that helps. Please do not forget to like this video, because it really does help me with my on my YouTube channel to grow, because they show it more. The more you like it, the more they show it. And that is, I'd really appreciate that. So until next time, guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset master doctor, and your leverage for change. Take care now. Until next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.